All right. Thank you guys for tuning in to another show. I really appreciate y'all tuning in again. I mean, this has been a great experience for me and been having great feedback and questions and all that, and I really appreciate it. So, like I said, if you have any feedback or questions or anything you want me to talk about on the show, or if you want to come on the show and talk about something, just let me know for sure. We talk about all sports on here. Just the gist of what we're doing today. Well, first I'll say that the coaching carousel, the NFL coaching hires, we're going to have its own podcast for that. All 8 NFL coaches are looks like they are slotted in to being hired, but they're not official yet, so I don't want to go through all of that, and they haven't really finalized all their staffs, and that's really important to me to see who they put on their staff. That helps me be able to break it down better. So what we'll do is it'll have its own podcast probably sometime next week. We'll do the best that we can to at that point we'll have a lot more information than we do right now. But I will go ahead and give you the 8 hires that have been announced. The Green Bay Packers hired Matt LaFleur. The Arizona Cardinals hired Cliff Kingsbury. The Tampa Bay Bucks hired Bruce Arians. The Denver Broncos hired Vic Fangio. The Cleveland Browns hired Freddie Kitchens. The New York Jets hired Adam Gase. The Cincinnati Bengals are looking to hire Zach Taylor, and the Miami Dolphins are looking to hire Brian Flores. So like I said, those guys are not finalized yet, and that's because they're coaching in games this weekend in the NFL Divisional Series, so they won't be finalized until probably after those teams have lost. So that's just what the reports are saying. I mean, you can take that with what you want. We all saw what happened with Josh McDaniels last year, so I just wanted to go through those, and like I said, we'll have a whole podcast in detail going all through those coaching hires. So for this show, what we're going to do today is go through some of the baseball signings, since I've had some people request we talk about a little bit of baseball, so I definitely will be able to do that for the first 10 minutes or so. And then we'll move into the college football playoff recap and all the bowls and what I think of that. Of course, we'll be talking about Clemson winning the title, and then, of course, we'll get into the NFL divisional round preview, which is one of my favorite weekends of the year, and I'm really excited to talk about those games. So that's what we'll be doing today. And quickly for basketball, conference play is just opening up, and we're going to have a podcast coming soon for college basketball, and we'll have some of my best college basketball knowledge people that I know come in and talk about it, and we'll talk about, well, of course we'll talk about Zion with Duke, and we'll talk about if the Vols are the best team in the SEC, and is Virginia different this year? They're ranked number 1, I believe, and Nevada has really had some eyes on them this season. So we'll talk about all that and more, of course, in the coming weeks as conference play goes on. With the NBA, the big news is that Tom Thibodeau was fired by the Minnesota Timberwolves. Doesn't surprise me. He just never seemed to be a good relationship there in Minnesota. He had almost full control of the roster, and so couldn't get anything done. So it is what it is. And a cool thing that I saw is the interim coach is Ryan Saunders, who is the son of the late, great Flip Saunders, who was the Minnesota Timberwolves head coach. And he dedicated his first game to his dad, who passed away 3 years ago due to cancer. So he dedicated the first game to him, and they pulled it out in overtime, and all the players were surrounding him in the locker room. So you can check the Twitter page for that video. It's a really good one. They were all over him. It was awesome, man. Ryan Saunders, so congrats to him, and good luck to those guys in the future. The Bucks are looking good. I watched their game with the Rockets. Those two teams are definitely trending upward. But of course, the Warriors are back on track now and rolling. So They're they're obviously the favorite to win the title. And LaMarcus Aldridge scored 56 points last night. I cannot believe that I saw that in a 2019 game. So that's pretty impressive. Congrats to LaMarcus Aldridge. So, like I said, we'll have a whole another podcast dedicated to basketball, but I just wanted to go through those things. And then we'll get into the baseball. And thank you again for listening. Okay, guys, so it's been about a month since I've recapped the MLB signings. So I know you guys have been asking for it, a couple of you guys, the baseball fans. So I'll go through the major moves that have happened in the MLB since mid-December, and just give my 2 cents on them. And if you want more information, you can always just contact me. So we'll start with news that just happened this weekend. Is DJ LeMahieu is headed to the New York Yankees on a 2-year deal. He was the Rockies' second baseman. I always describe him as just an absolute ball player. He is just everything you want in a second baseman. I really respect him, and I think this is a really good signing for the Yankees. He's not going to have 30 homers or nothing, but he'll be getting on base and having great at bats, and of course in the field he's a Gold Glover. So he's a good signing, and they also signed Troy Tulowitzki to a 1-year deal. So that's the old Colorado middle infield is getting back together in New York. I don't know if Tulo will be starting shortstop, but that's definitely in the cards, I'd say. And that's a fun little signing there in New York. So obviously they get whoever they want, and they pulled the trigger on those 2 guys. And they also re-signed their relief pitcher Zach Britton to a 3-year deal. So he was the Orioles closer midway through last year. Then they traded for him. He's a left-hander. Good pitcher. He's probably if he's at his best, he's probably one of their best relievers. I'd say he might be the best reliever they have. So that's a good move by them. The Twins signed DH/outfielder Nelson Cruz to a 1-year deal. He'll probably DH for them. So that was a pretty good signing. He's pretty much just home runner or nothing. He's getting up there in age, but he'll crack some homers. There's no doubt about it. You put him in the middle of the order. I mean, he's tough to pitch to, without a doubt. The Angels signed the Dark Knight Matt Harvey to a 1-year deal. He's also getting up there in age. He's a pitcher, pretty solid guy. If he can stay on, if he can pitch, let's say 20 starts, that'd be a good season for him. Because I mean, when he's pitching, he's consistent, at least I'd say. The Rays signed Charlie Morton to a 2-year deal. He pitched for the Astros the last couple of years. He's a former Brave. He started as a starter for the Astros, and then he went to the bullpen. Then he worked his way back into the rotation. He had a really good season last year. So he's definitely a wild card for the Rays. If he's at his best, that's a huge signing for them, I'd say. The Rays are an organization known for getting the best out of their players, so we'll see how they work out with him. The Rockies signed Daniel Murphy to a 2-year deal. He played for the Nationals for a while, then they traded into the Cubs at the end of the year. He's a second baseman. He loves playing at Coors Field, so I imagine this will be a good signing because Coors Field is obviously known for it being a hitter's ballpark, and he's a power-hitting second baseman. He's kind of losing his step defensively, but he can hold his own, and I think he's a good replacement for LeMahieu at second base. All right, the Los Angeles Dodgers signed relief pitcher Joe Kelly, goggles, to a 3-year contract. He pitched for the Red Sox the last couple of years. He's very reliable, arm out of the bullpen. This is a good signing for sure. I'm not sure that he's able to do everything that the Dodgers are needing right now. I mean, that's definitely their biggest issue is bullpen. Besides Kenley Jansen, they need someone to set him up. So I think he would definitely be a good candidate. So Joe Kelly to the Dodgers. Another relief pitcher to the St. Louis Cardinals, Andrew Miller, one of my favorite relief pitchers. He is a couple innings guy. He can go through the order if need be. He could close a game if need be. And he missed a lot of last season with the Indians with injury, but if he stays healthy, definitely a good signing here. Like I said, he can go multiple innings, and the Cardinals are towards the second half of the season last year. They were known for shuffling around their bullpen and making the best out of what it is, and that's kind of how it's going nowadays. Is you don't really have a set bullpen. I mean, you're kind of just plugging in the pieces, which I like. So this is a good signing and a good guy to do that with. The Astros signed outfielder Michael Brantley to a 2-year deal. He played for the Indians for a while, and he's a good hitter, very good glove. He's a consistent player. He's not, he won't wow you. Probably his all-star days are over for sure, but I think this is a solid signing for the Astros. I mean, they already have a solid order, so he's just going to add to it. The New York Mets signed Wilson Ramos to a 2-year deal. He's a catcher. He will probably be their starting catcher after they traded Kevin Plawecki. Ramos, he's a good player. He's bounced around a little bit the last couple of years with the Nationals, the Rays, but I think if he gets comfortable in the Big Apple, he could be a good piece for them. They're making a lot of moves, so it'll be interesting to see if they can improve next year. The Phillies signed Andrew McCutchen to a 3-year deal. He's an outfielder. He is known for his days with the Pirates. Very good player. Back then, for sure, he's one of the best players in the league, and I think he's still got, I don't know about 3 years, but I think he's still got a year or two of solid play left. So, good signing by the Phillies. We'll see what they can get out of him. I'm sure he'll dominate the Braves. The Nationals signed Patrick Corbin, starting pitcher, to a 6-year deal. He's a lefty. 6 years. This is a massive deal. The Yankees were going right after him, but obviously the Nationals were able to outbid the Yankees, which is unforeseen in these days, but good for them. He pitched for the Diamondbacks, so we'll see if he can hold up for 6 years. I mean, last year was probably one of his best years with a under 3 ERA, and his slider is one of the nastiest you'll ever see. So I think this is a good signing by the Nationals. The Twins, that's in addition to Nelson Cruz, they also signed Jonathan Scope to a 1-year deal. He plays second base. He's bounced around a little bit, solid player. The Kansas City Royals signed Billy Hamilton, the speedy former Red outfielder. So it's going to be kind of interesting not seeing him in Cincinnati. I'm pretty sure he's played there his whole career. Now he's going to be in Kansas City, who is known for Ned Yost giving the green light on stolen bases. So I imagine if Hamilton plays the whole season, he might break the Royals' record in stolen bases. I mean, if he gets the green light as much as the other guys as the Royals do, then, I mean, he's got a good chance. All right, couple trades. The big trade happened around Christmas was the Los Angeles Dodgers traded Yasiel Puig, Alex Wood, Kyle Farmer, and some cash to the Cincinnati Reds for Homer Bailey and two 19-year-old prospects named Josiah Gray and Jeter Downs. So the main thing here is the Dodgers are dumping salary. I mean, they're looking to make one more signing. I imagine probably a pitcher, but they're dumping Puig and Wood's salary is they're pretty substantial. Yasiel Puig will be interesting to see him in Cincinnati. He's always been on the Dodgers, of course, and he's got that Hollywood personality. Cincinnati is a little different out there. So we'll see how that works out. Alex Wood, change the scenery will probably be good for him. I mean, these guys don't the Cincinnati Reds don't have the established pitching rotation that the Dodgers have, so they just have less solid arms. So Wood will have much more of a chance than Cincinnati. Homer Bailey going to the Dodgers. He's got a good shot to compete for a spot in the rotation. He's a veteran, so definitely going to be a piece to the Dodgers roster in the next year. The Nationals traded Tanner Roark to the Cincinnati Reds for a right-handed pitcher named Tanner Rainey. So that's pretty funny. They traded Tanner Roark for Tanner Rainey, both right-handed pitchers. Indians traded. This is a three-team deal. The Indians get Jake Bowers, Carlos Santana. Bowers is a utility player from the Rays. Santana is a first baseman, and cash. The Rays get Yandy Diaz, a utility, mostly infielder, and a young pitcher, Cole Susler. And the Mariners come out with Eddie Encarnacion, who is a DH. So, three-way deal here. I think the Indians probably made out the best getting Jake Bowers. I really like him. I think he's going to have a good career, whether it be in Cleveland or somewhere else. I'm kind of shocked the Rays gave him up here. Yandy Diaz is a good player, though, so we'll see how he does in Tampa Bay. And then Edwin Encarnacion was just another guy. The Mariners, I mean, they take on these massive contracts, and then they say they're rebuilding. So I'm really not sure what's going on in Seattle. I'm telling you, that one's beyond me. The White Sox traded for Ivan Nova and Yonder Alonso, and they're definitely going hard after Harper and Machado, pretty much. They'll take either of them or both. So they're being really aggressive in this year's market. So as for the Bryce Harper watch, I'd say the Phillies right now are the front runners, followed by the White Sox, and then the Nationals. And the Cubs and Yankees and Dodgers, they don't seem that interested that much anymore, to be honest. It's I think it's really down to the Phillies, White Sox, and maybe not even the Nationals. Phillies are definitely the front runner at this point, which pains me to say. And Manny Machado, I'd say it's White Sox, then Phillies, and then the Yankees. So I think the White Sox will come out with one of these guys, and then the Phillies will come out with the other. I really hope the Phillies don't get both. That's definitely what they're trying to do, but that doesn't seem feasible to me. But we'll see. And the Yankees, they would love to come out with one, but they're gonna make deals otherwise. I mean, I think it's gonna come down to what Harper wants, to be honest. I think that should do it for the MLB trades and signings. Obviously, there'll be more in the coming weeks, so we'll try to update that in the next podcast or two. And like I said, if you have any more questions or anything you want me to talk about, hit me up. I love baseball for sure, and spring training is right around the corner, guys. We're pitchers and catchers are going to be reporting probably here in 2 or 3 weeks, probably right at the beginning of February. All right. Thank you very much for listening to the baseball. All right. So after 41 scheduled, sorry, Boston College and Boise State, 40 bowl games, bowl season has come to an end with Clemson dominating Alabama in the national title game. This is Clemson's second title in 3 years. Under Coach Dabo Swinney. Incredible job by them. They got through Notre Dame, no problem, in the college football playoff semifinal. And then they took on Alabama, and I mean they dominated this game. It was incredible to watch. Really impressive win by them. I think they've established themselves as a dynasty in college football. I think it speaks to how amazing that staff is, the coaching staff, that there's been little turnover. You look at Alabama, and it's all types of coaching turnover. I think that's had its effect on Alabama and Nick Saban. Brent Venables, defensive coordinator, did an incredible job this game. Alabama took the 16-14 lead, and they didn't score again. So, 30 consecutive points by Clemson in the national title game. Alabama is now wondering what happened. I think they came in as a little cocky after beating Oklahoma pretty handily, and it showed. I still think, I said from the beginning of the season, Clemson is the better team. And I started to doubt myself a little in the middle. I'll be honest. But, I mean, when it came down to it, it showed. Clemson was ready this year. I think the switch to Trevor Lawrence at quarterback in the middle of the season was huge. I think Dabo realized that Bryant wasn't going to get it done. I mean, last year in the semifinals, when they played as the 1-versus-4, Clemson was dominated. I mean, I don't think they scored a touchdown that game. Kelly Bryant couldn't get anything going, so he knew that he had to put in the true freshman, and he got a lot of time to get warmed up playing all these ACC opponents, and then it just built into him having great confidence from Cartersville, Georgia. He was a freshman when he was he was a starter when he was a freshman in high school. He won championships. I mean, this guy, he's incredible. Trevor Lawrence. I mean, I've heard people say that they would take him number 1 right now if they could in the draft. But obviously, he's not eligible right now, but he will be a top pick at quarterback. So that was a big switch in the middle of the season, I think, and Alabama just wasn't prepared for it. Saban tried the fake field goal. Just did not pan out, obviously. It rarely does. I mean, this is the same thing we saw that happened to Georgia on the fake punt. It's insane that these coaches think that it's better to try a trick play on special teams and put out your best offense, and it makes no sense to me. It really makes no sense. But, I mean, and then they come out after the game, they say they would run it again. I mean, Clemson was in a regular defense. They had no intention of coming after the field goal. And and they say that they would run it again with the look that they saw. I mean, it's insane. They had no chance of getting that first down. So I think that really swung the game in favor of Clemson, obviously. So congrats to them, national title winners. I imagine they're going to be right back in the thick of it next year again. UGA lost in the Sugar Bowl to Texas after they were so sure that they were the second best team or the best team in the nation, and Alabama was the best. They just completely forgot about Clemson, apparently. So that theory really went away when Clemson dominated Alabama and UGA lost to Texas. Texas, I mean, it was just a bigger game for Texas. They didn't expect to be in it. Tom Herman, I mean, led them to a pretty outstanding season compared to last season. And, I mean, it all started with the mascot Bevo coming after Uga in the pregame, and they never looked back from there. I mean, once I saw that was it. I mean, if Bevo is this amped up to play, or to whatever he does, I mean, if Bevo was ready, I mean, that team was ready. That was awesome. So that's what those are the main bowls I want. I mean, you had Ohio State beating Washington, going out, Urban Meyer going out a Rose Bowl champ, not a real champ. Urban Meyer going out with a win, so good for him. Central Florida couldn't hang with LSU. They hung with them. They just couldn't beat them at the end. I mean, they were just outmatched. LSU was sitting so many starters for the NFL draft, and I mean, this is just a prime example that Central Florida cannot compete with the top SEC teams. It's just that simple. So that, I mean, I kind of wanted to talk about the playoff expansion since that's been a heavy topic. In my opinion, I think it's good where it is right now. I'm in the past, going into the year, I said it should be 6. And I still can get behind that. If you're going to expand it, it definitely needs to go to 6 and not 8 at first, just to kind of feel the water. And the top 2 seeds should have buys. So you're going to have to find out a way logistically to build in a extra week or extra round of games, and you do not throw out the conference championship. And when you expand to 8, you do not throw out the conference championships. You need conference championships. That should be a requirement to be in the playoff. That you play in a conference. And Notre Dame is a prime example. I mean, they could not compete with Clemson, and this is the same thing that happened 5 or 6 years ago when they played Alabama in the title game. I mean, in the BCS title game. So you got to join a conference, Notre Dame. It's just really that simple. And I like it at 6. 4 is good. 4 is good. I like this. I think that the way it played out this year, Alabama was worn down by Oklahoma. It's just that simple. And Clemson was not at all worn down by Notre Dame. So I think the main problem with this year was Notre Dame was in there. If you had a 4th spot for Georgia or Ohio State, then I think it would have been a lot better playoff, and it might have played out differently in the end. I don't know. But having Notre Dame in there was a crime. But it's based on the rules. Like I said in my first podcast, you had to do it. It's based on the rules. I mean, they went out there and they went 12-0. Well, I mean, the kids, that's all they can do. They can't build a conference championship game in by themselves. So yeah, they deserve the right to play in the game, but it shouldn't have ever come to that. The administration should get in the ACC for real. I mean, they're in the ACC in all the other sports. So get in the ACC for real. Play an ACC schedule, 8 games like everybody else. And I actually think that the ACC and SEC should play 9 conference games and eliminate all these cupcakes that these teams are playing. And that would really even the field as well. So that's just my 2 cents on the whole thing. Congrats to Clemson, like I said. And next year it's going to be interesting to see how it shakes out. I mean, it's going to be 4 obviously again next year. And I'll be interested to see if a team like Notre Dame or Central Florida or, you never know, Houston. If they go undefeated, if they're able to sneak in, if these teams like Clemson and Alabama slip up and lose. So we'll see. And the last college football news I wanted to go over was Kyler Murray is now saying he's going to go to the NFL draft. Well, he hasn't come out and said that officially, but that's the talk of the town. So originally he was going to play baseball for the A's. Now it looks like he's going to try his hand at football. He's going to be a first-round pick, in my opinion, at quarterback. I think this is a pretty good move. I mean, it's all about what the kid wants to do, to be honest. I mean, if he wants to go play football, that's awesome. So good luck to him, and we'll definitely have to keep an eye on that. I think that's good for the college football news for now. Okay, so last week we had Derringer and Jonathan on to preview the wild card games, and we didn't do too well in our picks, but that's kind of speaks to how unpredictable the NFL really is. I mean, like I said, and like we all said, those games were going to be close, and they pretty much all were, besides the first one. And really, it's kind of the same thing this week. With 8 teams going at it, all 4 games are. I mean, I think they're going to be closely contested. I really do. So we'll start with the Saturday games at 4:30. We've got the 11-6 Colts at the 12-4 Chiefs. The Colts are coming off their 21-7 win over the Texans, which was pretty dominating, to be honest. The Texans really, this one was the one I felt like an idiot about, because I had the Texans winning a close one, and I really wanted to pick the Colts, and I wish I did now, of course. But I mean, the Texans, man, they really did not look good at all. They could not get anything going on offense. They even had created some turnovers on defense and still couldn't, capitalize on it. I mean, they were getting penalized. You can't do that in the playoffs, man. And the Colts, credit to them. They got out to a 21-0 lead. I mean, they were ready to play. So it's kind of the same thing for me this week. I want to take the Colts, but the Chiefs, man, this team you got Patrick Mahomes playing in his first playoff game, so, I mean, that's probably going to be an effect. But, I mean, this guy is unbelievable. I think he's going to be the X factor in the game. I think he's going to win it for the Chiefs. I mean, I may be wrong, but, I mean, Luck is going to have a good game, I would imagine. This is going to be a high-scoring game, I would say. Andy Reid, he really needs some playoff wins, of course. I'd love to see him back in the Super Bowl. I mean, he got one shot at it 10 years ago, so it would be really nice to see him in the Super Bowl and get another chance. But obviously, you got to start with the Colts. Frank Reich, I mean, he's going to have his guys ready to go. We already know that. I mean, that was a impressive start last week, and if they jump out to a start like that, I don't see how the Chiefs are going to weather that. I mean, they need to come out firing, the Chiefs. So I'm going to take the Chiefs in a close one. We'll say 31-28 Chiefs. Good luck to Andy Reid and the boys. I would love to see them get the win there in Arrowhead. All right. At 8:15, you got the 11-6 Cowboys visiting the 13-3 LA Rams. That's at the Coliseum. Sean McVay and the Rams are getting their second playoff game together after last year. They laid the egg at home against the Falcons in the wild card round. This time they got a bye, so we'll see if that helps them or hurts them this time around. I imagine they'll be more ready to go this time. Gurley is fully healthy. I think we'll get a healthy dose of him. The Cowboys, they surprised me the most out of all the teams last week. I really thought the Seahawks would beat them. But the Dak Prescott, man, he rose to the occasion. I was wrong. I didn't think he would be able to win the game for that team, but he definitely did it. And I could see him being able to do that again this game. And with Zeke too, I mean, this will be a great game. I've been back and forth on this game all week, man. I swear. But I think I'm going to take the Rams. I'm going to take the Rams based on the fact that I think Sean McVay is a better coach than Jason Garrett. We'll see, though. I'm taking the Rams 27-24. On Sunday at 1 o'clock, the 13-4 LA Chargers come into New England. It's going to be freezing cold, taking on the 11-5 AFC East champion New England Patriots. The Chargers last week, they were making huge plays on defense. The defense really won them that game against the Ravens. They shut down Lamar Jackson for the most part until the end for his the Ravens' late comeback attempt. But first three quarters, man, that team was clicking on all cylinders. Melvin Ingram has been the best player so far in the playoffs. I imagine he'll probably have a pretty good game in this one. But, I mean, you're going against Tom Brady. It's that simple, and Bill Belichick. So I'm going to take the Patriots in this one. I think they'll win pretty handily, to be honest. I don't think the Chargers are going to be – like I said last week, I took the Ravens. I was wrong about that, but I said it'll be close. And I said if the Chargers do win, it's going to take everything to do it, and I don't think they'll be able to advance past this week. So I'm going to stick to that, and the Patriots are my Super Bowl pick. So I'm going 34-17 Patriots. I just think Belichick is going to have the plan. They've won 7 straight times in the divisional round. So, I mean, with that, especially with that bye week, I mean, I know they're ready. I know that the Pats are going to be ready for this game. So, I'm taking the Patriots for sure. That would be my lock for this one, for this set of games.
The very last game of the weekend will be at 4:40 on Sunday, and it will feature the 10-7 Philadelphia Eagles and the 13-3 New Orleans Saints from the Superdome. We're going to have two special guests to preview this, but I couldn't work it out. It was going to be Eagles fan Will and Saints fan Ramil coming on here and going at it. So what we'll have to do is we'll do it after the game sometime on the next podcast, and whoever loses will have to listen to the winner bask in glory. So we'll do that for sure. But we'll just go through what I think of the game real quick. The Eagles were the only team that came through for me last weekend. Foles had a pretty good game, solid at least. The defense was great. It came down to a Cody Parkey field goal that hit a double doinker, hit the upright and the crossbar, but did not go through. The Bears would have won the game if it had gone through. It was from 42 yards, so obviously it's a game of inches. I think the Eagles are riding some serious momentum right now and could easily take that into New Orleans and surprise the Saints, who obviously are riding high after their very successful regular season. We know that Sean Payton is putting the Lombardi Trophy and cash money, $225K cash money, in the locker room in front of his players to motivate him. So don't know if that's going to come into play. But I'm picking the Eagles here. I think that it just seems like they're just magical. I think that Foles is going to be able to make the throws that he needs to put them in a position to win the game. And the Saints, I think they're going to come out slow, being a little too cocky. And Doug Peterson, the Eagles, I mean, they were here. They were in this position last year. I mean, they're playing with house money now, and I think they're a dangerous team, like I said last week. And I think they're going to pull this one out just like they did last week, 24-23. Give me Philadelphia moving on in the big upset. Will be happy with this pick. Ramil will not. All right, so just to recap, I'm picking the Chiefs, Patriots, Rams, and Eagles. So we'll see how that pans out, and going to be some good games. I think they'll all be very competitive games, so enjoy. All right, so that will complete another one of our podcasts. Thank you so much for listening. As usual, we got a lot of different stuff in today. We previewed the NFL divisional round of the playoffs, and we'll definitely have a recap of that in the next podcast, those games. We went through the college football playoff and a little bit of baseball and basketball, and we'll have more of those coming up in the following podcast as football slowly goes away into the off season. But of course, we'll have coverage of the coaching hires. Like I said, we're really excited about that podcast. That's probably my most in-depth subject is coaching carousel. I really enjoy studying that, and we'll have a bunch of stuff coming up. So again, thank you for listening to the show, and enjoy the games this weekend and all the stuff that you're into, and be safe, and thank you so much. And please share the show with your friends, your family. Of course, any feedback is good feedback, of course. So thank you so much, and have a great day.